Thank you for coming, and I'm looking forward to showing you the Ohio Star block pattern. It's a lot of fun to make, and I know a lot of you already have made it, but for those that haven't and for beginners, let's get started. Well, here is the Ohio Star block quilt. The Ohio Star is one of the oldest quilt patterns there is. And I had never quilted, and I started on this, and I made these 12 blocks. But I didn't have a clue how to make it into a quilt. And this fabric was gifted to me by a lady, and I had plenty of it, and so I made the 12 blocks. Well, I went to my local quilt shop in Amarillo, Texas, and this lady very nicely helped me figure how much fabric I needed for the borders, and she worked with me, and I thought the pink and the chocolate was the perfect sashing and borders, and she had a good suggestion. And I started on it, and when my son was diagnosed with cancer, and I finished it 3 years after he passed away. So I just worked on it off and on for 8 years. So I call it my therapy quilt. But I hand quilted it. Every stitch is hand quilted, and I made the 2 pillowcases to kind of look like shams. I made them a lot smaller than regular pillowcases, so they'd be pretty snug. And then I was on a thing of working with hexagons and English paper piecing, and I made the pillow. And I dedicated this quilt to my husband in memory of our son. So we'll go now to our sewing room, and we'll make us a block, the Ohio Star block. Hi, let's get started on this block. And I wanted to show you first, before we do one that's already made. And you can see how pretty it is. And this finished 14 inches. And to achieve that, you need to use, for your hourglass blocks here, you need to use 6-inch squares. For these, this, and this. These will only be 5 inches, because when you sew these together, you're going to trim them down to 5. So 5-inch corner blocks, 6-inch for your hourglass, trimmed down to 5, and a 5-inch center square. This is another one I made, is a little one, and it's using 5-inch square charm squares, a charm pack. And you use the 5-inch and trim them down to 4. So this is 4, 4, 4, and 4. Start out with 5 and then trim them down to 4. And this is 4. And this comes out 11 inches. So you have to decide. I mean, of course, if you have a pattern, I didn't have a pattern, but if you have a pattern, of course, you'll make it the way it tells you to. But for my quilt, I wanted 14-inch blocks, and so this is what I made. But I just wanted to show you the difference in using the different size. I used fat quarters to cut this out. Charm squares don't come in 6-inch squares, so I just used a fat quarter for each one. So you can say for each block, and I made 12, and 2 fat quarters, you need 24 fat quarters. Okay, the first thing you want to do is make the little hourglass block. And I've already got 2 of them made. And that's what you want to achieve, is your 2 little points going together real good like that. And if you iron it flat, open, they will lay really, really pretty. Pressing your seams to the side, to the dark side, doesn't work on this. All right, I have a 6-inch accent piece and a 6-inch background. And I'm just going to put them together. And this is the handiest little thing in the world, comes from Fons and Porter. But you put that down and you get an exact marking. It's so good and accurate. If you don't move your ruler, it is. And we're just simply going to sew on those 2 lines. And then we'll cut down the middle. This is like anything, when you look at a block, you think, well, that looks kind of, what did they do? But when you sew it, it seems, oh, that's so simple. I don't pin my pieces together because to me it distorts it. So just hold them together. Now we're just simply going to, I'm going to use this ruler because it has a 1/4 of an inch marking on it that I can see real good. And I just put that on my sewing line and cut. Makes it nice. Then we will iron these, and like I say, open. And I'm going to finger press them first because it really helps. And you know, when you've got a hot steam iron and you're trying to get these open, it's kind of hard. But it makes your hourglass points so much better if you will do this. Iron your seams open. You see how contrary? And if you had a hot iron trying to get these open, why? Okay, now we'll press them. Now we're going to put right sides together, but we're going to put them the opposite. Match them up good. and even. And do on the opposite side across. And sew again on the lines. Now we're going to cut again, right down the middle of where we just sewed. I'm going to move my samples over. There's our little pretty hourglass. I'm going to press it real quick. After we get the block made, if you ever want to know about binding or hand quilting or finishing your quilt in any way, I have some really good videos on my channel that gives you in-depth instructions on all of that. And I'll show you how to finish a quilt from top to bottom. Okay, now what we need to do, let's just kind of lay out what we've got here. This is going to be our centerpiece. This will be a corner piece. A corner piece. Another corner. This will be an hourglass, but first we've got to trim them. So our hourglass are going to go right in here. So we want to trim them, and I have, go back to this. It's so handy because you can put it it has a line that goes right across your seam, right across here, a diagonal. And then it also has, we have 5-inch blocks, so we kind of need to know where the 2.5-inch line is. This 2.5-inch line goes right to smack dab to the middle of that hourglass, and that's where you should have it. And that tells you how to get it even. Just line up your line and make sure your 2.5 inches is right there. And that way you're cutting evenly on all sides, not just one side and making it all lopsided. Then just turn it around. Line up your line again with your seam line from there to there. Find that 2.5-inch dot and put it right there. You're lined up 5 right here, 5 right here. And you just have to trim these 2 sides. And there's your 5-inch. Pretty as it can be. And you do that to all 4 of them. And I'll try to hurry because I don't want to keep you all day. I know you have other things to do. But I do appreciate you coming by and making an Ohio Star quilt with me. Have to hold your nose just right, tongue, mouth, whatever. Because if you don't get it just right, it will distort your block. There's that one. Now, I've seen on Ohio Star blocks where they make these 2 maybe centerpieces the same, and they'll make these 2 different, and even this different. You can vary your colors. If you want to use more than 2 colors, you can, but the reason I chose not to is that mine were all different. So I had my colors, and I thought I liked my choice of just doing the 2 colors and doing 12 different blocks. They're all different. None are alike. And that one. Excuse me. Goodness. Now, when you're putting these on, you want your background going to the center, going up to your floral. So turn it where the background is to your floral. Well, my mind was a little bit off there. I'm gonna have to go back. It seems like this corner is not quite right. Okay, and there's your block. Now we're just simply going to sew these together. Turn it over, sew. Turn this over and sew. And we will be through. It won't take but a minute. I don't iron them until I get them all done. Wrong way. When we get them all done, we will iron the top and the bottom one way and then the middle one the other way so that they nestle together when we sew them. I find that it's easier to sew it with this up on top also. Makes it easier than it being underneath and you not knowing if your seams have flipped over or gotten messed up. So. this one does. Oh my goodness, I'm having a time with my thread. Okay, this one and this one I'm going to take to the over here to the iron and iron both of them. Doesn't matter which direction, just get it in the same direction on both of them. And this one I'll press the opposite. And then we'll just sew our pieces together very quickly and see how they nestle together. They just butt up against each other just real good. It's just the best way to meet your seams. Well, let's see. Let's just put this way. You could pin this too, but I find it not necessary. If you've done a good job sewing, it should just match perfectly. Well, there is my 2 blocks together, and there's my piece of sashing. And of course you just cut your sashing the size of your block, which mine's 14 inches, so that's what I cut it. It's 3.5 inches wide, and once sewn it'll be a 3-inch. So I think that sashing is going to be good. I've got all kinds of greens and blues and pinks and all kinds of pastels. So I think that will work real good. So I'm so glad you came to watch with me, and I hope you'll make your Ohio Star quilt. And remember, the borders are up to you. You just finish it however you want to. And I did use on mine, I guess you could tell, a solid chocolate binding. I thought that was the best thing to do. So good luck. Thank you for watching.